the one. It's the one.
TizzleTalkTV, come talk with me, man. Hey, say, ain't no day like another day, man. Say, man, we back with another conversation on TizzleTalkTV. And today, man, today, I'm gonna have a good old conversation with my boy, Mr. Shuron Jenkins, man. What's going on?
Hey, what's good, bro? What's
man,
good?
Ain't nothing, man. You know, Fred got the Wrangler stuff on, fresh off. You know what I'm saying? Hey, before we get started, I got a couple of rules to go by. Okay. B1000. You feel me? Be comfortable. I want everybody to be comfortable. You know what I'm saying? Be transparent. And man, this, I know it's a one-on-one, but it ain't no interview, it's a conversation. So talk to me.
Let's talk about it.
Say live, man.
Let's talk about it.
Man, what's up, man? How your day went today?
Hey, my day has been good, man.
For sure.
My day has been good. Blessed. I have no complaints.
How your mental is like right now at this moment?
My mental is on overload, man. I got a lot of going on, man. So it's on overload in a good way, though. Mm-hmm. You know, in a very, very good, positive, state of mind.
When you say you got a lot going on, do you think sometimes we can have too much going on?
Of course, you can have too much going on.
Yeah.
I mean, that's normal. You know, I always think if you have too much going on, you have the opportunity to succeed at something. But when you have nothing going on, you're not going to succeed at anything. Mm-hmm. So
I like that.
You can pick a nugget out of that too much. You know, but once you identify as too much, you know, it's always that peaceful medium that mm-hmm. you can create a balance. You know, and keep a level state of being.
Okay. So it's okay to I'm sorry. It's okay to put a lot on your plate. You just gotta take what you're gonna take to get full, huh?
Well, you know, I've adopted that concept. I don't eat to get full. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, growing up, I had to eat everything off my plate. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I'm sure we can all relate to that in this area. Yeah. You know, you get a lot. You couldn't drink your Kool-Aid until you ate everything off your plate. Yeah. So therefore, being that it's your plate, you control what foods you put on your plate. You control the portions that you put on the plate. Right. You know, if it's prepared, by somebody else, or if it's one of those situations that you have no control over it, then you still can control the portions that you eat.
Right. Man, you dropping game already, man. I like that. You dropping game already.
Yeah.
Man, so you got an event coming up for people who don't know. Like, what's that event based off of?
Man, I thought we would never get into that. I actually thought the conversation was going to start with that. But for those that don't know, the event is coming up October 2nd. It's called the Courage Code. And it's basically bringing men together, men and teenage boys together. Mm-hmm. I'll just say males, adult, and youth, mm-hmm. that we're coming together to have an open conversation on life, different variations of mental health, from suicide prevention, healing from suicide, depression, just general stress, anxieties that, we face as men. Mm-hmm. Something that, we don't talk about. So what we've done with the Courage Code is create a safe space that we can come in and we can release. Mm-hmm. We can pick up some nuggets from other people and just basically have open, dialogue, open conversation on different levels of mental health. So
Man, why is mental health so important to you to start pushing an event like this?
Well, mental health is actually something that is so overlooked, especially in the African American community. Mm-hmm. Because even from a kid, we're taught, that men are supposed to cry.
Right.
Men shouldn't show emotions. That's a sign of weakness. We're taught a barbaric way of life. We're taught warrior mentality. And it's like, even in the barbershop, I've heard all my life, and even myself, I'm guilty of it, telling a little 2-year-old, 1-year-old getting his first haircut, you got to be a big boy. Well, at some point, we have to understand that a 1-year-old need to be a 1-year-old. Right. He shouldn't have to be big. That's what, adults are for. That's what men, fathers are for. Even your big brothers, allow the 1-year-old, the 2-year-old to be who they're supposed to be, and that's going through their steps, going through their, phases of life, and basically not missing, levels in their journey. But if at 2-year-old they have to be a big boy, mm-hmm. then at some point they're going to miss what it's like to be 3, what it's like to be 4.
Right.
So with that being said, this event is not just a basic conversation. It's a part of a journey that I feel God has pushed me into, to bring basically rewrite the narrative mm-hmm. of what it's like to be a man that has anxieties, a mm-hmm. man that has struggles, a man that goes through things, a man that deal with things, a man that's overcome things, but also be that, be the person that is not afraid to say, okay, you know what, I was in a dark place at one time.
Right.
So other people that are in dark places realize that they're not the only ones. So it's like when we come together and we can take the mask off, I no longer have to wear a mask, faking a smile and getting at home at night and balling up, or getting at home at night crying out to God, why me?
Yeah.
It's those times that we have to ask, why not us? And if God being who I know He's to be in my life, He's going to answer you. But not having that person or not having that collective circle that can truly relate to what you're dealing with, and it's not just basic life. We're talking professionally. Mm-hmm. I'm like many other people in my community. We all want to inspire to be professional athletes, but how realistic is that? Right. How realistic it is for a person coming up as a kid to actually become a professional athlete. The statistics say that it's not that many, mm-hmm. It's not very high. So what's the plan B, as we say? Right. Instead of being a professional athlete, can we be the doctor that treat the injuries from the professional athlete? Oh. Can we be the trainer that keep them, stretched out? I mean, they make really good money.
For sure. For sure, man. How do you think you create a space for a young man to be vulnerable enough to express those things? Because like you said, it's hard. A lot of us done grew up on the tough side and just keep so many of our emotions sealed. You know what I'm saying? And that's what causes all the suicide and stuff. So how would you create a space for that, a young man who ain't never talked about it, don't even know how to deal with depression, don't even know he depressed? You know what I'm saying?
Well, for one, be willing to be authentic and transparent yourself. Mm-hmm. That is probably the biggest obstacle, speaking for myself, that mm-hmm. I've had to overcome is be willing to open up and be transparent myself. Share with this individual instead of, always having a solution, because we don't always have the answers.
Right.
It's nothing like trying to answer and have a solution when you don't really know. But oftentimes when we actually open up and just, for one, be that ear that's willing to hear or discuss, the issues because it'll come out organically once you present yourself friendly. In my barber chair, I hear it all the time. You know, people confide in me, and basically they have a safe space that they can talk and don't have to worry about it being weaponized.
Right.
See, that's the biggest thing in our culture, is sharing things with someone that we feel is a safe place to share with, only to have that individual, you know, weaponize it against you. And now it just pushes us further back in a hole that we no longer want to talk, and we keep it to ourselves. We become a recluse. And with that being said, I was always told that my best friend, you know, you may be my best friend, but I may not be your best friend. So when I share this, when I share, you know, an intimate darkness, it's like you feel that you can share it with your best friend. Your best friend, you know, may not be that voice or that person that I would have shared this with. So now it's not just you and I talking about it. It's three of us talking about it. So I've had a lot of opportunities to share, build up, encourage, motivate, just by being a listener. And when you listen, a lot of times organically people, it just overflow. You know, so it's I guess it's the spirit and the presentation that you give to make someone feel more comfortable in talking with you.
You said like being transparent is one of the harder things for you now. That's something you don't overcame at the moment.
Basically, I guess it depends on what it is and who I'm being transparent with. You know, I can remember going through my ordeal, you know, years ago, and I'm sure at some point we'll get to that. But because of that, you know, it not knowing how people will receive you will make you, you know, just kind of keep a lot of stuff inside. Tread lightly as to who you associate with. You know, tread lightly to who you allow in your circle and your intimate space. You know, simply because you just don't know how you've been introduced, you know. And when I say that, a lot of people's perception, you know, of who you are is how you were introduced. If I introduce you as a good stand-up guy, well, the person I introduce you to, you know, is going to look at you and expect you to be that good stand-up guy. Yeah. If I introduce you as someone that, you know, a troublemaker, someone that, you know, is grimy or whatever, then that person already have formed a perception of you. Right. And they never even knew you. You know, it's just because how you were introduced to them. So what I've adopted in my life is base my encounters with the individual. You know, that's how I perceive them. You know, that's how, you know, my interaction is with them. And because he may tell me something bad about you, but he's not going to tell me what he did to you to bring that side of you out. Right. You know, my experience with you was always smooth. So why would I allow someone else to taint, you know, my views of you and, you know, cloud the lenses in which I see you? So in allowing people to talk, and the courage code, and I'm a back, you know, go back on this, is basically people want to release. We need to release. Right. And not having a place or a group of people that you feel safe in releasing, then that's very common. So what's rare is to have that space and to call on me and to say, hey, you know what? I've gone through that. I've made those jacked up choices. I've had to live with my choices. I've had to own my choices, you know. But I also have made some great choices that I can share. You know, so it's not all bad. Right. Some people just want to be celebrated, and they've never been celebrated. Yeah. Some people just want to, you know, say, hey, good job. You know, and the courage code is basically giving them that, because mental health is not always bad. You know, there's some people that have great stories that they're there to help people overcome. There are people that have some horrible stories that they're there to help someone get through. You know, they're there to share how they was triumphant over, you know, various issues, how they were able to beat suicide. You know, and I say that, you know, because that's you know, that's the ultimate. You know, there's no coming back from that. You know, we can ultimately get over depression, you know, but we can't get over, you know, the issues of suicide. And a lot of people don't know is African American men are leading that statistic now.
Right now?
Yes. The rates of African American men and youth, you know, are staggering. But because we were taught growing up, black folk don't do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, that's in our community. That was a white folks thing. You know, I'm just, you know, keeping it real.
For sure.
Little that we know how many suicides and how many attempted suicides have we have knowledge of. Many years ago, we didn't see that. I can honestly say, you know, we didn't see a lot of suicide. But now, at a rapid pace, suicide in our communities are leading the race.
Dang. So, like, is mental health depression? Like, what is really mental health?
Mental health is a very broad topic. You know, is speaking of depression, you know, we can become depressed from so many different things.
Right.
Like I said, we can become depressed because we didn't make the team. You know, we can become depressed because we didn't reach the success in our professional careers. We can become depressed because of absent fathers.
Yeah.
You know, growing up without a positive male figure. You know, seeing other people having fathers and, you know, or positive male figures in their life, and we're not having it. And I can honestly say that was one of my anxieties growing up. You know, that was one of my traumas that I dealt with. And I masked it for a very, very long time, but it was always something missing. And without, you know, that powerful figure in your life, it can be very, very damaging, you know, to little boys and little girls, just kids in general. But mental health is just it's so broad, and there's, you know, I don't have the expertise to cover it all. Right. And that's why I bring people, you know, on the panel that have different experiences. You know, that's why, you know, we'll have professionals on hand, you know, that, you know, can pick up, you know, where I don't know, because that's not my professional. I just know it's a need. I know that we as, you know, men and collectively women as well, we definitely need safe spaces. We definitely need places that we can talk, we can listen, we can ingest and digest, you know, and even take back and share. Right. You know, but yeah, mental health is really broad.
Man, you think that's something like everybody dealing with on some kind of level?
I think so. You know, I may be dealing with mental health. I may have daddy issues. You know, I may have wanted my daddy in my life, but there's a little princess out there that's been hurt, you know, in every relationship that she's dealt with. You know, there's a woman that is aspiring, is great, is good, you know, as any man in her profession, but won't get the promotion because she's a female. There's, you know, just different levels. Like I say, I use sports. You know, there are injuries that take place that derail, you know, thriving athletes' career. It's just so many different channels, or levels of, you know, depression. Is that I don't think it would be off base to say at some point somebody deals with some level of depression. You know, the severity of it, you know, may vary from person to person. But I will say that depression is a form of bondage. It's a true prison, and the real prison is between the ears. It's all in the mind. It's that is the true prison is between the ears. Because you can cover up everything else and nobody ever see it. Nobody really know your thoughts. But once you start to talk, everybody knows exactly what you're feeling, what you're experiencing. So the Courage Code it's going to cover a lot of that, from youth, to law enforcement, to even someone is actually healing, from the loss by suicide. So,
and man, I think it really start early too, man. Like I have talks with my daughter sometime after school. She like 7, and I have talks with her sometime after school, and she get to talking like, man, I'm just going through so much, and I'm like, baby, you shouldn't be going through nothing. Like you a baby, you should be enjoying it. But man, it be opening my eye to like, it ain't no age limit. It's no age limit on that, man.
It's not. Kids 7 years old today are exposed to so much more pressures. They deal with so many different, anxieties than what we dealt with. The phone, the internet, TikTok. I often have kids talk with me, in the barber chair, and I use the barber chair because that's like my ministry. They talk with me in the barber chair, and they deal with wanting stuff or wanting to be like someone that they see. I'm trying to figure out, and I'm trying to ask the kids every day, as smart as you are, and as knowledgeable and fluid with the technology and the devices, why do y'all spend hours and hours on top of hours watching another kid play a video game?
Yeah.
And that's his content, and he's making millions, because so many eyes are just watching it. These kids, they sit there and they just watch that. And it's some things are not realistic, based off the choices that we made. That's, as parents, we wish we can give the kids, all the best at all times.
Yeah.
But the best accountability is the availability. Just be available, and don't take anything that they say for granted.
Right.
I don't care how minor it seems. Give them that time. Give them an opportunity to express themselves. Be a parent, not a friend first. Be that parent to at least give them that opportunity to express themselves. If they tell you that they had a rough day at school, find out what that rough day was all about. So when we say you don't pay a bill, we hear that a lot. Yeah. You don't have to do nothing but just go to school. We hear all that. But at school, they're going through the peer pressures. They're going through, right, all types of stuff that they may not come and tell you what they saw at school. Because a lot of times you're going to be parent, you're going to punish them, or you're going to get a little strict on them or whatever. But at least give them that, coach them up that they will at least talk to you. Communication is big, and that's what I didn't have. I had fear. If I told something, I was gonna kick my butt.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something no big on. Like, man, me and my daughter, we talk
cool
every day after school. Like, yeah, like we got to get that in to just see how her day was. She get mad at me when I don't ask how her day was. She'll get to looking funny back there. Like, what wrong with you? He ain't asked me how my day was. Like, so that's something she look forward to, just getting that off. And,
man, that's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing. So,
and, I was gonna ask you, man, how do you deal with just your mental health when you going through What is something that you do?
And it's one day at a time. You know, my truth moment is I've hit in my own mind, in my own, you know, personal state. You know, I felt that I've hit rock bottom. You know, I can go back to the COVID time, and my anxieties was so high. If I didn't have a reserve, you know, to truly just like live off of, then I honestly don't know how I would have made it. And I share this very, you know, I don't share it loosely, but during COVID, everything I do, from cutting hair in the barbershop, you know, to promoting, you know, or doing an event, selling tickets to the games or concerts, you know, basically everything I do was shut down. I didn't get any type of relief. I didn't get any type of, you know, PPP loans or whatever. I basically was blessed, and I prayed so hard, God, just help me, because on top of just my normal struggles in life, the anxieties and everything from COVID was building and mounting every day. You know, it's like, how am I going to pay this? You know, how I want to keep the lights on for not just my house, but, you know, I help my mom out. You know, I do. I have my own personal house. I have the shop, you know, to keep up. And there was a lot of things that was mounting on top of just personal trials and things that I was dealing with. And I honestly, you know, felt like checking out. You know, I can remember calling my family and telling all of them that I love them. I had made up my mind I was done. You know, that was the biggest trick of the enemy, you know, that I ever encountered in my life. That was the biggest trick of the enemy. And I got a phone call just before that. And normally this phone call come through, I'm sending them a cash out, like for real. And what's so crazy about it is I'm one that always talking to them. I'm one that's always, you know, encouraging and building them up. You know, little things and struggles that they had, they always, you know, knew that I was going to talk to them. Well, this phone call, when I received it, I was actually in the process of looking for the deepest hill to drive my truck off. You know, so at that point, that call came through. I just thought it was another, you know, cash out. And I was going to send the cash out, you know, but they didn't want money. That call was, I just called to see how you're doing. You know, so with that being said, coping with that or overcoming that is not a cope at that point, because that innocent voice on the other end of the phone called me at that moment to say, I just called to see how you doing. You know, because I answered the phone like, all right, what do you need? You want me to send a cash out? And what I did is instantly, you know, I thought I'm getting ready to send a cash out and tell them I love them. But that call changed my life. That call changed my life. I had actually made up, and I kept driving, but I was no longer looking, you know, to end it. I pulled over, got myself together, and just told God, if you just get me through this, I will tell the world about it. I would tell everybody what you've done, because I knew I could not have done it by myself. And I didn't have anyone else to talk to. There was nobody I felt safe enough to say that I'm at a point that I give up. Because I'm a grinder. You know, you name it, I've had my hands in it. You know, I've been an entrepreneur basically my entire life. I can count the number of times I clocked in on anybody's job. You know, so whether you like it or not, you got to respect it. I've survived. And once I was able to survive that, coping with everything else became a little minor. I'm not going to say it wasn't difficult. I'm not going to say it wasn't a challenge. But to be able to look back and say I was there, it allowed me to look at things to a whole different light. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of things that mattered didn't matter anymore. A lot of people that, you know, mattered, they no longer matter. Not as far as being, you know, they mattered as a human, but they didn't matter as far as, you know, me wanting to have them, you know, in my world, my circle, my life, or all that good stuff, you know. So, and I just basically started asking God, you know, just show me, you know, give me a better sense of discernment. Give me a higher level of discerning. Let me discern the spirits, you know, of the people that are around me. If I can't do anything to enhance them or make them better, or they can't do anything, you know, to reciprocate that back, then when that season is over, help me walk away. Because it's so easy when something is good, try to hold on to it. Right. But everything has seasons. And when that season is over, I became stronger about letting it go. You know, so moving on to the next. As one of the songwriters say, everything new. I think it was Ty Tribbett, you know, like everything new. You know, at that point, everything, I started looking at it in a new light. And so each day, you know, from that, when I'm having those struggles, you know, now I've been blessed with a few people, you know, that do understand, and I can talk freely. You know, it's like my release, my therapy, you know, each and every day. And yes, I have, you know, on a few opportunities, had an opportunity to talk to professionals. You know, most of them was just chance encounters that I feel at that appointed moment, you know, they were placed there just, you know, for me, and they've gone. But they do keep in touch occasionally, you know, to just, you know, kind of check to say, hey, everything good, you know, and that means a lot. You know, so as far as my day to day, it's like when I'm having one of those days, when I'm having those moments, when I can't reach that person or whoever to vent, because I grew to release. You know, I had one person teach me once, say, a sponge is only as good as its last squeeze. A sponge is meant to absorb water, absorb moisture, you know, but once you squeeze it out, you can reuse it. But if you don't, you have to allow that sponge time to dry out. And oftentimes, you know, the mission is not accomplished. So I've learned to be a sponge, but I also had to learn, you know, to release. And in that process of release, it gave me, you know, more confidence, more security. I began to trust a little bit more, you know, in those trusted ears, because they proved themselves not to be a person that's going to, as I say, weaponize it, you know, throw it back up, you know. So once we talk about it, you know, I never hear about it again. And over the years, I haven't heard about it. So that helps out every day.
Man, you said some deep stuff, man. Like you transparent. You done got that, man. I think that what you said, I think that gonna help a lot of people, man. I want to ask, so man, you did time before?
Of course.
You been in prison before?
Yes.
How long did you do?
I did almost 9 years.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know what age you were when you caught your time?
Man, that's a good question. I think I was like 22.
Wow.
Maybe 23 at the most. I was pretty young.
Man.
I was pretty young.
If you think you can think back to like the moment that you got that time, like when the gavel, when the judge hit the gavel and you got your time, you finna walk back in there and serve that. You think you know that?
Well, see, I had a preparation stage. You know, I had opportunity, and I say opportunity because you know I made bond. Okay. And you know when the incident took place, you know, in December of 1997, I had a chance. I went before a bond hearing and I made bond. So I had a chance to actually prepare for whatever, you know, outside of being confined. And that helped out a lot because during that time I was able to get some things in order. Mentally, I honestly was not depressed then. At that season of my life, I had so much favor. It's like from the time that took place, I had so much favor. I received so much favor. Everywhere I went, it was like red carpet was laid down for me. My attorney took me to Augusta. I was living in Augusta while I was out on bond, and I walked into a barbershop. They quickly, allowed me to come in and work. I'm at a traffic light, and I meet a guy. They're getting ready to open up a barbershop, a dry cleaning, and a car wash combined. And at the traffic light, while we're waiting for the light to turn green, we have this conversation because he has a magnet on the side of his car. Very eloquent, presentation. And, I'm asking him. And he said, come by here. He gave me the address. It was right across the street. I went in there. They wanted me on salary. And so I'm thinking like, okay, this would be pretty cool because I'm still paying for defense now. My defense started at $25,000. That was, the startup fee for my attorney. And so I'm looking at secured money. Well, they gave me the key to the business, so I was advised not to talk about my encounter, anything, while I was out on bond, just, be low key, don't get in trouble, go to work, be productive, come back to my hotel. All right. Well, I was led and I just felt so burdened to talk with the guys. And once I talked with them, they just told me, say, Shuron, you know what? We with you. And I was about as blatantly honest as I could be. I was like, hey, I'm facing a murder case. I've allowed myself to get caught in a situation, not planned and what have you. But this is what I'm dealing with, And they asked, what can they do to help me? Gave me the key to their establishment, which ultimately, with my help and guidance, they became, at that time, Black Enterprise. They became in the final 3 of Black Enterprise Small Innovator of the Year. So that's around all of the whole United States. That company is called Mailcare. So I'm forever grateful to the Callaways, Richard and Fred Callaway. They pretty much gave their business over to me to guide them in the barber department. But I didn't really deal with depression. I dealt with more, I would say I dealt with more emotional anxiety as far as like, the level, the magnitude of what I was involved with, that part. But I was actually at peace, during that time. And once I went to prison, it was tough. It was, definitely wasn't a cakewalk. I had to leave my kids, I had to leave my mom and the other people, that loved me and the people that I thought loved me. I had to leave all of them. And what was crazy is I didn't want to come back here. And I had so many opportunities, but when the opportunities, when it was time for my release, because I maxed out my sentence, all those people faded away and I had to come back here. And man, when I tell you the backlash and people that wasn't even born then over the years, didn't even know. That's when I tell you, it depends on who introduced you.
Right.
Those people, like, they were the ones that, was doing most of the, antagonizing. I mean, they were like picking and calling. I mean, they were little bitty kids that didn't even know.
Know nothing.
And it's like, how old are you? Yeah. But then it was still, I was still cool. A little bit more cautious, but I was pretty cool. I walked in the bank, man, and I share this right here, man. I walked in the bank and I didn't even have ID. I didn't have a driver's license, and I got a loan. So when the favor of God is on you, man, I don't care. And that's what brings joy to me. When the favor of God is on you, nobody, can do anything with you. You know, you can do things that, you know, detrimental to yourself. You can walk out of his will. You can resist and run from it, you know, but when the favor of God is over you, you know, everything I wanted to do within a year, I had a new business. I had a car. Within a year and a half, I had a house, multiple business, multiple streams of income, all legit, you know. I mean, and, you know, I had pitfalls doing it. You know, I can't say that, you know, it came easy, but I didn't have depression, and I didn't truly experience depression until everything that I had suppressed actually surfaced. You know, so that was the twist, you know, because instantly I was put in jail, and that's not a place for you to show weakness. You know, you can't go in there crying, you know, so you got to suppress all the stuff, you know, all the emotional stuff, you know. And so when I was released, on the surface, I'm thinking I'm good, you know, everything's straight. But after years, after, you know, being able to buy a house, being able to buy, you know, a couple of cars, and, you know, stopping my mom from working, or at least at that time, you know, supporting her, you know, taking care of my kids, and just basically, you know, enjoying life. Now the layers have been removed. Everything that I suppressed now had to be dealt with. You know, the grieving process actually started, you know, because when this happened, there was no hugging, you know, it was no, you know, I'm with you. You know, I basically, the only person I knew was going to be there was my mom, you know, so now once the grieving process started, I'm really not identifying, and I'm asking, you know, God, why you bring me here? Because I'm thinking it's the place, you know, and God simply told me, you know, I brought you here that I may show you my glory through you, you know. And I didn't understand that because I'm in pain. You know, I'm mentally confused. I'm frustrated. But I walk out the house and I got this mask on like I got it all together. You know, so everybody would see me, you know, they would see me doing a live for an event or whatever. But when I turn the Facebook off, you know, I want to sit in the house dark. I don't want nobody around me. You know, I don't want to talk on the phone. I don't want to do any of that. I'm coping now with the events that took place in 1997 because they were never dealt with. You know, so my advice would be deal with things now. While you're going through them, deal with them. Don't run from them. Take them head on, you know, so you don't have to revisit them. Because here we are, 2015, and I'm going back to 1997. To handle some things that I never had a chance to handle. And so that's where the depression, you know, that's where the confusion, you know, you lose yourself in thoughts, being there for other people and no one is there for you. And it's like either they don't know me well enough to see that I'm going through something, or don't care enough, you know, to be there with me or for me. You know, so you can flip a coin to whatever side it land on.
Dang, man. Look, man, I want you back, bro. I want to finish the conversation. I want you back. I want to respect, you know, you got the event to be too, and, you know, I want you to make it to there. I just want to ask you this one last question. Do you think, like, you found your calling through that part of your life?
No. It was the second time when I was incarcerated. I also asked God to protect me, and He did. And I told Him I'd tell everybody about it. Well, I got out, everything was okay. So, you know, what's to talk about? And then the 2020, you know, when the pitfall was a little darker, you know, I shared that same had that same conversation with God. And once again, as you can see, I'm here. I got through that. Well, I lost a couple of people to suicide. And it's like what happened is people that you love, or at least you say you love, you're not really connected to them. when that happens, you don't know when they're going through things. If they don't tell you, and if they're as good at being a camouflager like I was, then I may never know. But then when the ultimate thing happened and, they took their life, it was a reality check. And although it's been on my heart throughout, for the last few years, I still had to I had to arrive to that place to where, in order for me to be effective and walk in that calling or walk in the purpose that I feel in this new journey, I had to be willing to get naked. I had to be willing to share my intimacy, not just the good stuff, but I had to be willing to share, bad decisions, how to deal with different perceptions. And most importantly, in this small community, deal with the people that may laugh when you tell them this. So it's kind of like my spiritual working out. I had to become stronger spiritually to be able to deal with, what I expect to come from behind being a person to say, hey, you know what? I once thought about taking my life. And the guys in the community, saying, man, this thing is crazy. You know what I'm saying? It comes. But I'm comfortable in my skin. And God has given me a gym to work out every day spiritually to be prepared to say, hey, you know what? I can relate to that person. I can relate to that little girl. I can relate to that little boy. I can relate to the man and the lady that say, I can't handle it. But you can. You can handle it. And you will. So.
Hey, man. We definitely got to come back, man.
Let's do it.
I got some stuff I want to share.
Let's do it
with you, man. With your event. What day is your event?
It's October 2nd. That's a Thursday night. It's gonna be streamed live on my YouTube channel, as well as my Facebook, all my social media platforms. We're gonna stream it live. The audience won't be panned. You will see the panelists. I do have, it's going to be 4 of us up there talking. And the audience is going to have that safe space, that if they want to say something, they don't have to worry about someone in their hometown, right. picking at them or, making a mockery of them. So, but if they want to be seen, we will have, interviews for the people that are there, to say, how impactful or what they got from it. If they got anything from it, so, but yeah, be prepared. The conversation actually going to start about 7:00, so if you haven't, you can, go to my social media, Shuron Jenkins. I also have another page, Mental Transformation, so you can go on there. All the links are on those social media pages and you can, follow. I'll give you all the prompts, the times and, when it's about to happen.
Okay. And we'll drop those. We'll drop your links in my store too, man. Yeah. Hey, again, like I ain't saying too much because I've been so engaged, man. Cool. And I'm all for these type of conversation. What I do is kind of hard because I'm pushing like these kind of talks that people need to have and positivity. It's so hard to put it. I ain't gonna say it's hard to push positivity. It's hard to get the attention. Everybody, nobody don't really want the attention. You know how it go. But I'm gonna keep doing my thing.
Have a problem with it.
Yeah. I'm gonna keep doing my thing, man. I'm gonna keep doing my thing. Hey, I appreciate you, man. You don't know how that talk helped me. If that talk wasn't for nobody, they gonna listen to this. That talk really for me, man. And that scripture on your arm.
Oh yeah. Man, this the new merch, man. This it's Transform Me, Romans 12:2. This is my foundational scripture. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Man. So everything, like I say, mental transformation. The new journey is to help all of us, get our mind right, keep our mind right, and be strong enough mentally to assist other people, when their mental is unstable.
Right. Hey, man, y'all drop in the comment, man. Part 2. Y'all gonna get it regardless, but drop in the comment section. Part 2, man, if y'all enjoyed this, man. Again, man, I appreciate you coming. We got to get together and do
Let's do it, man. Let's do it, man.
Hey, man, go like, comment, share, subscribe. And, man, it's your boy Tizzle. Hey, ain't no day like another day. And we out this thing, man.